Hello everybody, it has been a long time, but alas, welcome back to yet another edition of our Dungeon Boss Mode walkthrough series. Last time we checked in with Boss Mode, and honestly I didn't even do it myself, but we were left with Chapter 12, which was basically a huge joke in terms of Boss Mode. We got two dungeons and they were both totally garbage, and we waltzed right through them with the beast teams and nobody cared about them at all. We now have two new dungeons with 3 levels of difficulty in Chapter 13, so Boss Mode is getting up and running again with the new content expansion to go to level 80. So, we're not going to go through every single dungeon. I don't have the time to do that just yet, and to be honest, for the most part, people will likely be able to get through the dungeons pretty easily, at least these first couple, and then there will be some more difficult ones in here, but we're only going to take this one step at a time, because as you see, once we pass Chapter 13, we're going to get into some tougher content in terms of requiring level 74 to 75-ish, so we're going to be a little bit under-leveled to try and handle some of those things. So we're going to look at just the regular boss mode ones to start with. I'll give you some basics on there. So these first two here, Wriggling Wield Normal and Champion mode. The Champion mode mechanic is everybody's poisoned, so not a big deal. You can waltz through these both of these two dungeons with either a beast team or the undead team. Both of them will beat it very, very easily. Same goes for the first two of Untamed Tangle. Originally, I had planned when I saw this to, sorry, let me just open it up here. The enemies in here, there are some bunnies in there, and basically I thought, oh, bunnies, that's bad news. So I thought Beast Team would not be a good idea, so I started with the Undead Team, just in the interest that if these bunnies acted like Hopper and stomped corpses, keep Zom alive and everything's good. Turns out these bunnies are not like that, so don't worry about that. Take whatever team you feel is the strongest, but again, Undead will walk right through this for the most part. You probably won't be able to use a Beast Team for the Champion mode, because Champion mode restricts it and says no fire heroes, so basically no Solaris, but you can use full Undead Team, and I basically did Undead Team on all 4 of those dungeons that I mentioned, and was able to do it just on auto mode, so very easy to do. There are 2 dungeons that are actually challenging now. The first one, Boss Mode of Wriggling Wield. The reason this one is hard is the boss mode mechanic requires you to use the snakes. So I'm going to start this one. I'm not going to finish it because I don't want to take that much time to do it. It goes fairly quick, but you can't do any auto on it, and you do have to have a little bit of patience with it. Basically, though, your potion loadout, most likely you're going to want to take 3 revive potions if you're looking for the 3-star. Also, don't be afraid to use friend heroes. You're only going to be running these boss mode dungeons one time in terms of manual runs, so use the friend heroes even if you have to spend a couple of gems to do so. The trick to this one here is likely to, if you did bring an energy potion, is to use snakes on a plane. Viperia should be your damage dealer, and depending on the enemies that are up, she's going to mop up pretty hard. And so, if you get lucky on the second room, you have to get really lucky here. Sometimes there will be an Evo in here. In this case, there isn't, because then we could have used Death Bites on that turn and got a shield for Viperia. In this case here, I'm not going to use that. It'd be a waste of a skill because she's not going to get the benefit from it. In terms of using Cobressa, obviously her acid spit is a good deal for doing heals and stuff, but don't use this unless you actually need to heal. Otherwise, take it slow. Try and kill one person at a time, and don't worry about healing when you don't need to heal. So Creel and Krex are both likely going to die at some point. That's okay, because we want them to die instead of Cobressa and Viperia. In this case, Viperia just died, and that's why we bring the revive potions along. Ideally, if Krex would have died, it would have been better, because then they would have both gotten a shield. This is where the micromanaging comes in, because some of those guys are pretty tough, and if they just start to gank on you, there's nothing you can do about it. So take it with a grain of salt in terms of running through these. But with a little bit of patience and some luck, you should be able to beat it. Not too bad. But you do need to put probably your absolute best runes on the snake team, which is probably the most inconvenient part, because not a lot of people are running reptiles these days, and so most people are likely to have them non-rune for the most part. So we'll see that Death Bites is not a superpower move. It's not anything like Snakes on a Plane. But it can kill these little fish guys because they're basically unarmored. But on the ones, the other enemy creels and the enemy trees, just doesn't work. So that's basically all we're going to go through. I mean, I could finish this dungeon here, but I don't think there's really any point to it. When you get to the boss, use your friend heroes there, and you should be fine. But take 3 revive potions, and I think you're going to be good to go. Alright, so now, probably what I think is the hardest one to 3-star out of these first 6 is going to be the last boss mode here. Untamed Tangle boss mode requires only light heroes. It was not a fun one to do, so it's not hard per se, but you do have to have extreme patience. Now, there's a couple of teams that you could use here, but the main concept is you have to have Emily in there to revive, and then you have to have somebody to basically soak damage and to do heals. So one option is to use constructs in terms of the new Alexander, and then bring Bobble along, and then Emily, and then a 4th of your choosing. My go-to team of choice was actually Echo, Zen, Emily, and then I went Perma-Res with Leo. And so this was with the assumption that anytime Leo died, I'm expecting somebody else to be dead before that, and he's going to bring them back. And then there's one mechanic that I want to walk you through, but the idea is to use your electric charge with Echo as often as possible, and to also use Zen to purge debuffs. So there's one really bad thing you got to watch out for, and that's these bunnies. When you're using a Leo team, they have the option to possibly fear beasts on attack. The absolute worst thing that could happen in this dungeon here is if Leo gets feared, his health gets too low and he runs away. If that happens, you may as well just quit and restart, because you're not going to be able to 3-star and you're not going to be able to probably even beat it. So anyways, in terms of what we actually do to beat this one, you're going to have guys die. That's part of the, I guess, fun of this dungeon, but it's also part of the nuisance. Save your friend heroes for the most part, but the same rules apply as before, as you're only going to run this dungeon one time, and then you're going to be quick looting it. So run it the one time, even if you have to spend a couple, 200-300 gems on it in friend refreshes. That's kind of the name of the game for some of these dungeons. But anyways, do not waste your abilities here. So you always want all of your heals available for, in terms of Zen, you want to be able to purge debuffs, you want to be able to purge with Emily, and then the only ones that maybe you want to use every time it's up is Echo's Electric Skin, his Electric Charge, what do we call it, Energize, or his Electrical Storm. But basically, we are going to leave that one for now, because we're only going to use it to start with after one thing, and that is both Emily and Leo have the nice little Divine Justice thing that gives the bonus light damage. And so we're going to use that with Leo here, and then after we get this, then that's when we can use our Lightning Storm. But I'll walk you through one of the mechanics that you need to be aware of here, but realistically, the bunnies should always be your top priority because of that Fear Beasts mechanic. The Snow Day is probably the most powerful move in this dungeon. There's a lot of guys that do it, and the final boss will do it as well. We're going to heal Echo here. Didn't do much. Not much at all, actually. Alright, so let's work on the bunnies, and we'll wait for somebody to actually die then, too. Purge the fear off of Leo. That's what we needed. So we're just going to work on some bunnies for a second, and then I'll get to the overall mechanic here. So that's part of it. Leo reses whoever dies. And we're going to resurrect Leo, and then we will energize with Echo the next turn. Full disclosure, this dungeon takes a long time. It's going to take you a half hour to run it. That's just how it goes. So settle in for a long trip, and then, just go with it. Sorry, this is going to be boring for a couple of minutes here, but I do want to fill you in on what's going to be the idea behind this team that I picked here. Always using heals to keep guys alive. and then slowly and surely whittling these guys down. If you chose to use the Alex team, it's likely that you would maybe have a little bit more damage output. Maybe. I don't personally like Alex. Even with an upgrade, Alexander sucks, and I will always assume that he sucks. Okay, that was exactly what I really didn't want. But in this case here, I didn't die. So basically, when you get down to about 2 enemies left, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try and do all sorts of passive stuff as much as we can. Pour on the heals, pour on the taunts, pour on the cleanses. If anybody's dead, we want to ultimately get Emily around to her cooldown so that she can res them. So we're always going into the next room with a full team. That's the goal for every one of these, is always go into the next room with a full team. Because if you start out weak like this here, Leo already died now, so that's bad news bears there. Fortunately, it's not going to be a huge issue for us, I don't think, because we had a few turns there and we got all of our other abilities here. But that's the idea here, is to play it slow, and when you get to 1 or 2 guys left, you want to try and bring everybody back and then heal them if you can. And so it works really well if you leave this guy here, the little owl thing, because he will constantly heal himself and he does very little attack except for when he does the questionable bomb thing. I can't remember what it's called. The unstable bomb. That one could do damage and it could debuff you, but kill the other guys first and then you can slowly bring your guys back and then you'll be good to go. When you get to the end, my suggestion is to kill the dragon first. Use a friend hero to take him out and then kill him quickly, and then everybody else will fall in line for the most part. But again, don't be afraid to use a couple of friend heroes if you need. Just plan on having, for the most part, I would say plan on having at the very least 2 revive potions, maybe an energy potion, but the way that this team works here, you shouldn't be hurting for energy for the most part. If you're in dire need of resurrection from Emily, you're probably struggling with runes and stuff to begin with, where you're not able to, keep guys alive. Everybody I got on here is runed heavily defensive, so... anyways, that's going to wrap up this particular video. I know we could have gone through all of them a little bit more thoroughly. I'm not going to do that right now. We'll probably do that with the next chapter, because at that point we will have, you're going to be level 74, 75-ish. People might actually be looking for help on beating some of those, and then we will give some insight into that. So otherwise, if you're having trouble now with the snakes one, throw your best runes on there and then use friend heroes and slow play it. The yellow one, it's just a long dungeon. Take a half hour to do it and then you should be all set. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.